So hi everyone, Lauren Verkamp here, or Spears, newly Spears. Keep reading that my last name has changed. But thank you everyone for joining this webinar. I know being an event manager here at PERQ, we've had a transition to a lot of virtual meetings and webinars, and you guys are probably being bombarded with them. So I just want to say thank you for joining this one. We've done a couple now, and I know we've all had a transition to video, and video has just become a huge part of our lives. So we wanted to put this on for everyone. So one, you can get a little bit of insight from our industry experts about how to use video in your marketing and how to use video to do tours with your prospective renters. So how this event is going to go, we're going to go around and do introductions with everyone. And then we're going to go into some 45-minute panel discussions. We'll have some poll questions in there, and then wrap it up with Q&A at the end. So Mohammed, if you want to do the introductions.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lauren. Appreciate that. Saw a couple of people already talking in the chat and everything. Feel free to talk on the side as we go through this as you like. I'll also be keeping an eye out as we go through this for people either asking questions in the chat area, or if you want to use the Q&A function as well down at the bottom. I know Zoom webinars are slightly different than the regular Zoom meetings. There's a couple extra features in there for you. If you put questions in, we will collect those as we go and either answer them during the panel portion, or maybe wait until the end and add those in during the Q&A at the back end. But feel free to send them anytime as they pop up, and we will be keeping an eye on that. So I guess we'll start with introductions. I guess you didn't introduce me. My name is Mohammed. I'm the EVP of Marketing over at PERQ, and I will be playing moderator today alongside my great guests here. So we'll go around with introductions first, and we will start with Jenna. Just who you are, where you're at, what you do.
Okay. Hi, my name is Jenna Miller. I am Senior Director of Marketing and Customer Engagement for Bozzuto. Shout out to my Bozzuto team members who I know are watching. I've been with the company for about 8 years. For those of you that aren't familiar, we are an experience-focused management company with about 77,000 units across, I think, 260 plus communities up and down the East Coast, the Northeast, Chicago, Miami. I'm sure I'm missing some, but a pretty big footprint. And so virtual tours have become a big part of what we're obviously doing right now. My role is very customer experience focused. And so this has actually been a kind of exciting new challenge for me to really dig into our virtual touring strategy and how we can continue to enhance it. I've been really surprised with how well our teams have adapted quickly to this new normal. So excited to talk with you all today.
So we're excited to have you. Thanks for coming today. It's taking some time out. Margaret.
Yeah. Hey everyone, my name is Margaret Hinney. I'm the Director of Marketing with Co-Video. Again, kind of like Jenna explained, if you're not familiar with Co-Video, we are a video messaging platform where our users are recording, sending and tracking personalized one-off messages so they can be in person from anywhere, which has been incredibly important as we've dealt with this challenge and this shift. And we've been really felt very grateful to be part of a solution during a really difficult time. So I'm excited to chat with all you guys, share our knowledge. I've been with Co-Video for the past 4 years. So I guess you could say I'm a video expert. I should be by this time. That's why I'm here.
We're all suddenly experts on video now, right? After the past 5-6 weeks. Crash course for sure for many of us. And last but not least, Matt.
Thanks, Mohammed. Hey everyone, Matt Wyrick, co-founder, CEO of Relink. Relink has been around in the multifamily industry for a little over 6 years now, partnered with about 280,000 apartment units across the US. And our platform is a video leasing solution. It enables leasing teams and on-site management teams to create their own pre-recorded videos, host live video tours, and do whatever's needed to keep themselves central in the leasing conversation with prospective residents, showcase the space, and really streamline their systems and processes using video. So thankful for our Bozzuto partnership, and excited to have Jenna on because she has been diving deep into this lately and will provide some great insight on it.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So the way this particular one's going to be, if you've been to some of the other ones, we're pretty organic-ish here, right? We try to keep it semi-loose. So we're going to be focusing a whole lot on experience and tactics, right? We'll chat a little bit about specific tools as well, but really it is about high level as we are pivoting into or trying to increase our experience in video as it relates to virtual tours. What are best practices, what's working, what's not working, and diving a little bit deeper into some of the conversation that we had a few weeks ago at the happy hour for those of you that were there. Once again, questions along the way, feel free to pop them in and we will divert the conversation as feels appropriate as we go there. Before we dive into the first question, we actually have our first poll up because we'd like to try to keep this somewhat interactive. So Lauren, if you can kick that one off and you can just kind of click the button there really quick, we'll collect the results as we go. This is, did your property use video as a primary tool for tours before the shutdown, right? And this will really help us as we start going into details on the questions, really guide our conversation appropriately to the audience that we have. And you'll be able to see the answers on those shortly as well. So let's jump into this first one. This is for all of you. I kind of want to go around the whole room on this one, around the question of virtual touring and virtual leasing, right? Because this is a very wide gamut of what the answer could be on what it means to you. And since you were actually just talking, we'll actually start with you, Matt, and then I'm probably going to end with you, Jenna, since you're on site and dealing with this on a hands-on basis there at Bozzuto.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. And something that we've always talked a lot about at Relink, because we call Relink a video leasing, virtual leasing solution for a reason. When a lot of people hear video, they kind of lump it up into that marketing bucket. And the old connotation of virtual tours was stitched together environments that sit on the website, and they're great for getting people engaged and highlighting the space and providing a first look to hopefully get that lead to convert into an actual prospect for the property. But for us, the way we always look at and have looked at virtual leasing is that active lead to lease part of the funnel, and what our team's doing to actively connect with that prospective resident, answer their questions, build the relationship, give the sales pitch, show them what they want and need to see at the property to ultimately get them converted into a new resident. And so that's really where our focus has been. And obviously, there's a lot of flexibility within that virtual leasing realm in a lot of creative ways that teams are using video and technology to do just that, to connect with prospects and showcase the space and get deals done. I don't want to dominate the time because this is a really fun, big topic about the future of leasing and something we've talked about for a long time, of tech-enabled leasing teams that are more efficient, more dynamic in connecting with consumers via all these different platforms and means. But yeah, that's the gist and the high level from me on that front.
Yeah.
Awesome. And you wrapped up just in time. We actually got our results back on the poll. It looks like about 80% of the folks in the room actually were not using video as a primary tool before the shutdown, versus about 20% who were. So I think that definitely backs up what we've been hearing very frequently, which is this change necessitated a huge pivot in how we do business. And he's back as well. So we can go on to Margaret. What you're I'd say semi-related to the industry, and we wanted to have a little bit of diversity, I think, in the panelists here, right? I think many of you probably recognize Relink. definitely doing a lot specifically in the multifamily space. Margaret's company does works in some other industries as well. So we want to kind of get that outside viewpoint of what video from a virtual leasing or virtual appointment perspective looks like as well.
Absolutely. I actually want to piggyback on some of what Matt was saying, because he really hit the nail right on the head, where I think people who are in the webinar today are probably really familiar with video from more of a marketing perspective, those very kind of sexy, polished videos that look great. They're awesome on your website and in social media. But we're seeing more of a shift in industries all over in more of that personal video communication, that one-on-one, particularly in your guys' world here in multifamily, because it's such an emotional decision. Buying is always an emotional decision, but particularly for this. And when you have that prepackaged video, it's not going to speak to everyone's needs across the board. We want to be uber personalized and specific to those people. So recording a one-off video that maybe is a little bit more raw, a little bit more real, that personal and human connection are what we're seeing a shift towards, that people, it's really resonating with them. I think particularly when you take a look at other things going on, you log into your Netflix and they've got all kinds of suggestions for you based on what you've seen in the past and what you've liked on Instagram. Great. I get all these ads up based on that. So people are expecting that level of personalization. So we need to take the info that we have from them, even if it's just their name, to record a quick video and say, hey, Jenna, thanks so much for reaching out. I understand you're looking for X, Y, and Z. Here's what we have. I think you're going to be excited.
Right.
So like that level of specificity is what people are really looking for, and different than those marketing style videos.
100%. Definitely a huge shift to organic, I think, overall. And I know working with a lot of kind of video programs over time, right? Going into or launching a new video program, usually you start very structured, very scripted. Yeah. There's a lot of ahead work on specifically do I get people to know exactly how to do this video and make sure they're all exactly the same. And I think one thing that quarantine did for all of us was kind of change how we approach planning and made us a little bit more nimble, right? It was just, nope, we need to do video, go, right? And here's some general guidelines and we're going to catch up as we go. So let's go to Jenna, because I'm kind of curious about, I know you did a lot of, some video work before as well, as you really leaned into it, going into a scenario where you were unable to do in person for the most part, right?
Right.
What did that look like? What does the idea of video or virtual leasing really mean to you in today's environment versus maybe 5-6 weeks ago?
Right. So, and I'm going to echo a little bit of what Margaret and Matt said, but we know that our customers are doing a lot of research before they're actually making a decision on where they're going to tour. So most likely they've been to the website. If you have marketing videos on the website, they've seen them. They're probably reading reviews. If they're going stir crazy right now, chances are maybe they've actually done a drive-by of the building and the neighborhood just to check it out from the exterior. And so for us, first and foremost, it really becomes an exercise in trust building and relationship building with those customers, which is obviously a bit more challenging when you don't have that face-to-face interaction when you're on site. And so looking for creative ways to do that. The content is still really important. The mechanics of it is still really important. That's an important part of the experience. But what are ways that we can, again, be really authentic and personalize that? So making sure that we're, exploring their options, listening to them, and then using that to really tailor every aspect of the tour experience. Are we being responsive? Are we full and patient? This is new for us as well as them. And so, doing all those things in the end for us, I would say success really looks like when they're Xing out of that live virtual tour. At the end of it, they feel really good about, if I make a decision to live here, I'm going to feel like I'm being really well taken care of. No worries.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I know we talked a little bit before, and kind of the whole idea of that experience, that human experience, really came up quite a few times in conversations. And I know many of us who, if we haven't already started some sort of video leasing, right, we are probably deep into the planning of it. So we're not going to back up and say, okay, what got you here? Because I think we all understand exactly how we got to video leasing, right? In today's environment. What I am curious about from your perspective are, what are some of the challenges that you saw your team struggling with up front that you were able to solve, and what did you do to kind of clear the way for them?
So I would say in the very beginning, it was a lot of trial and error. So I think in the beginning, and we use online tour scheduling, so a lot of our tours will come through that if we're not converting on the phone, which is happening a lot too. But if we try to jump right into that tour without having that initial meeting or conversation, whether it's a phone call or a video chat with the customer, it really doesn't go as smoothly. The customer feels really put on the spot. You don't come across as organized and thoughtful in how you're delivering the experience. And so I think that was a little bit of trial and error in the beginning, and our teams have gotten really creative. And what I've learned, and I think what they've all learned, is that there's really no one size fits all when it comes to virtual touring. And that goes for the properties as well as the customers. They have preferences. Some of them might not be comfortable doing it the way that we want to do it. So you need to be flexible. And so that was definitely a learning. I would say connectivity has been a big thing too. We have elevators and hallways, and if you try to just sit in the office and then walk the tour path you normally would, it's not always going to go as planned. And so practice has been key in testing things out so that you feel comfortable with the route that you're going to go for your virtual tour experience. Agreed.
I think that connectivity was is another one that I would love to dig into a little bit. You mentioned, hallways, right? Stairwells, elevators, all those things just, they can to block your Wi-Fi and or LTE signal and make you nice and choppy on that video that you want working really well. I'm going to switch over to Margaret really quick here, because I think one of the spaces that they work in is the auto space pretty heavily, I know, where they also have to get pretty far away from that Wi-Fi signal in the main office. Any thoughts or tips, like really practical tips you have for managing connectivity when you are doing a live video tour?
Well, so our platform is actually gonna be a little bit different because we are all pre-recorded videos. So they're like a video voicemail that someone's gonna make that you send out through email or through text message there. So it's not gonna be an on-the-spot recording that you're doing with someone on the other end. You're able to follow up with them afterwards. But for that, what's really nice, and I think it's super important, it sounds so small, but to have a couple different things. One, the ability to flip your camera, because I always recommend starting with it on your face, actually, because again, that human connection, making ourselves a little bit vulnerable, which is difficult, but it does wonders for breaking down some of those barriers and walls that are there. So having that camera flip on there, no matter what tool you're using, is going to be important, and having a pause button. So you're not dealing with some of those connectivity issues or trying to vamp, when you're walking from place to place, either in a building or on the car lot or wherever that is, you're trying to make up that material when you can just push pause and then be in the next room or the other amenities or outside. That is really, really helpful, especially if you're thinking about the time of that video. So I do a lot of coaching for people on that as well.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. What about you, Matt? I know you work with a lot of folks, and you guys do a lot of upfront training as well with the leasing agents and trying to get them prepared to, to do a good tour. What are some of those key things to think about? Or if you have a team that's already kind of jumped in and gotten their feet wet, stuff to look out for as you're coaching them on how to get better.
Yeah, great point. Definitely practice. And like Jenna mentioned, walk the path, test the signal, make sure that your space is prepped in advance. Teams need to treat this like an in-person tour. They need to have the blinds open, the lights turned on, the toilet seat closed, and they need to know how they're going to walk through that space, especially for a live video tour, because there's no going back. The pre-recorded adds a lot of flexibility, but for sure, you can take those individual shots. If you don't like one, you can delete it and re-record it and keep going to piece that together. It's much more forgiving on the pre-recorded side, but for live tours in particular, plan it out. You want that to be a smooth, polished, professional experience for that person. You want it to reflect your community and your team well. But one of the number one biggest things that we always tell people, slow down. When they're walking too fast, panning too fast, if they do anything too fast when it comes to video, it's not going to look good. It's not going to buffer if it's a live video. On a pre-recorded video, it's not going to focus, and it's going to come through choppy even on pre-recorded videos. And so walk slow, pan slow, do everything slow, because at the end of the day, people need to see what they're going to be experiencing or trying to experience. And so go slow. Some of the key video tips: keep natural light behind you. If you can't avoid your reflection in the mirror, just smile and wave. Like Margaret mentioned,
Lean into it, huh?
on yourself anyways. Yeah, they're going to meet you eventually, hopefully. And so just embrace it, be yourself, let your personality shine through. And it doesn't have to be complicated to be successful.
For sure. Jenna, we had a couple of mentions here of pre-recorded versus live. Where do you stand on that? Is that a either or? Is it a mix of both? What are you doing?
I feel pretty strongly that it's a mix of both. And so I think if you've narrowed down that a person's interested in 1 or 2 units, it's probably a good idea, if you can, to do a live tour on the unit. And I stole this from one of our internal trainings, but they said it was I'm the cameraman and you're the director. So that's how they're their customer. And so that way you kind of put them in the driver's seat. So I think that's the benefit of the live tour from the unit. But supplementing that with all of this pre-recorded content in a recap email or even before the tour, so they can become prepared with questions that they want to ask or things that they want to see more of. So I think you need to be doing both.
Makes sense. So as you're going into that kind of the pre-recorded aspect, and maybe having some assets that are already available, what do you find you're using the most of the pre-recorded assets?
I think the specific, like from actual apartments, the pre-recorded content from actual apartments with the views, that's been a big one. A lot of Chicago, that's huge. They want to see the lake. And so being able to show the view. The amenity spaces right now has been really important, because a lot of our amenity spaces are closed. And so having that content all ready to go to pull it up. The pre-recorded video tours that I've been on have also been really cool, and you can personalize them because they're kind of doing a voiceover as the video is playing, which is awesome. And so it's still, even if they're not actually in the unit, and this is great if you do have a building where maybe there's connectivity issues or you don't have a hotspot on your iPad, doing it that way, and that they can kind of speak over the video and talk you through it.
That makes a whole lot of sense there. So I had a question in here, actually. They were specifically talking about the pre-recorded. As far as types of tools you're using around the pre-recorded, I mean, there's a lot of options out there, right? You could just shoot something and throw it up on YouTube. You have the Matterport tours. You've got tools like CoVideo and relink. What kind of mix are you using, and what are you seeing that's helping you really be nimble today?
We're using a combination of all of the above. Budgets vary at our communities, and so relink, Zoom, Matterport, Panoscan. So these are all tools, and I think when used well together, and they really do create a really nice experience for the customer. A lot of different perspectives.
Yeah, I'm definitely hearing this idea of, like, it's not a one size fits all. It's to figure out what works there on site and stay nimble along the way. Make sure you have your finger on the pulse of how things are going with that team, and make sure they've got what they need. Yeah, that makes definitely a lot of sense to me. If we back up a little bit, I think both Matt and Margaret, you guys are, I think Jenna, you see across Bozzuto, right? Which you have plenty of properties, kind of see what's working there. For someone like a Matt or Margaret, they're going to see multiple organizations and how they're using video overall. I think we learn just as much from what's working as we do from what's not working, right? what are some things that the two of you are seeing that folks are doing that if we just went ahead and eliminated that or reprioritized our resources, it would actually work out really well for all of us? And I'll let either one of you start on that.
That's a tough question.
Right?
Matt, you go first.
I was purposely lingering on mute, hoping you had a quick answer to that. That's a tough one.
I guess, okay, I'll jump in, and this isn't something that is like uber specific. It may not totally answer your question, but one thing that I find people do is when we have ended the transaction, right? Signed the lease, all that sort of thing. The tendency is to think that interaction, that we're done and move on to the next one. I would say that there is still opportunity for you to engage in a very meaningful way, like sending thank you videos to follow up with someone. So important. Hey, thanks for trusting me. I've really loved working with you. The kind of insider key for us here is to use that as another opportunity for things like asking for reviews or letting them know about any kind of referral incentive program that you have going on. Cause it's that time now, like, right, where we've taken them to the back of the wheel, where we're ready to talk about new leads. And if we can warm up leads through those existing leads, even better. So don't ignore that at the end, so to speak, and know that there's still opportunity there.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Margaret. I would definitely say we have seen people just lean and rely on the pre-recorded videos, and they just send it and expect it to do the work for them. You still need to be an agent. You still need to follow up. You still need to nurture that relationship, build the relationship, answer their questions. Because I think it was Jenna mentioned this earlier. What works right now is instilling trust and transparency into the process. And it takes that human dynamic to do that. I would say the other thing that I would probably throw in there as something to not necessarily stop doing, but something with Relink. We've got unique link tracking that if I sent all 115 people on this webinar 3 Relink videos, I would actually get notifications in real time telling me which person is watching what video, when, how many times. And if people are just, yes, you can record a video on your phone, upload it to Dropbox and share the link to it. But having that insight into the actual relationship, interactions, the activities to cater your follow-up and have the insight to know how someone is or isn't engaging with your content is actually a really important step in the process that gives leasing teams a lot of information to cater their message and be more effective at what they're doing and more efficient at what they're doing. And so I would say to just challenge people to go deeper on their video effort and be more strategic about how they're doing things.
Let's double down on that one for sure. Because I'm hearing a couple of things. I'm seeing some stuff in the chat around different types of videos. Lauren, if you can I have one more, another polling question, kind of in line with what we were talking about around tools. I'm curious about the room overall, right? And what types of tours you are currently offering. This is a multi-choice, so you can select multiple options here, right? Whether that be live, like FaceTime, Skype, pre-recorded, self-guided, in person, maybe with that sort of thing. Hit as many as you like there. We'll come back to the results there in a second. But I want to go back with the group here and chat more about specific types of videos and how you're incorporating them. I've heard follow-up. I think that was a really, really, really good point from a couple of folks. The idea of doing the live walkthrough is, I think, a no-brainer. I think we all immediately went to that. Or of having pre-recorded for things like amenities or maybe specific show units, etc. But there's also the option of using it maybe earlier in the marketing process, even to attract residents, or how to use it in the follow-up areas as well. If we look at the spectrum of kind of that conversion funnel, Jenna, where are you starting video in that funnel, and where does it what does that look like from layer to layer?
I think as soon as somebody has, I mean, we have marketing videos, most of our communities do. And so very top of funnel, we're using the marketing style videos. But as soon as somebody has shown interest, our properties are really starting to engage with those kind of more personalized videos. And
Sure.
I would say, you know, just to echo what we were talking about before, we shouldn't be limiting ourselves to just product video. And so I like
100%.
the thank you video, but also we have teams that are doing like meet our team videos, which again, when you're building trust, that's super important. Who are the people that work in my management office that are going to essentially be taking care of me when I move in? So meet the team. And then even as you get into, and I know that this is a little bit outside of virtual touring, but as you get into the resident experience now, you know, we've been using Relink, for example, for maintenance tips and how to change your light bulb. And, you know, there's so many uses for it. And I think I personally just really like how authentic the videos are right now, just because we have to survive and to be quick.
Right.
And saying. And so I think the authenticity is really going a long way.
I agree. It's funny how a scenario like this has forced us actually to start being more authentic than when we were in our heads thinking about it too much, right? Mm-hmm. that fast hit really made it more human, more engaging, more real, right? Which I think is going to work out really well. I'm excited to see what this looks like long term after we do have the ability to start speaking in person as well, and how much of this really great behavior continues, right? So let's see, results on this for what we're doing. Vast majority are doing pre-recorded video tours for sure. I think that's probably one of those that many of us maybe had assets for before we even went into this, because we were probably using it for, you know, marketing purposes, whether that be email, etc. We've got, following behind that, 83% that are doing live video tours with things like FaceTime, Skype, etc. 46% are using self-guided tours. That's when we've had a lot of conversation, around, because there are definitely some challenges to making sure you can enable that for a particular or a prospective resident. And then we actually have 22% that are still doing kind of in-person tours as well there. Follow-up question on kind of the different types, right? Because I think Margaret and Matt, both of you kind of covered that pretty well on different options for how you could use the videos or different types you could create. And one of the questions we have out there is around resources, right? So checklists available with a lot of the tips that we've got, right? Whether it's the slowing down, pre-walk, scheduling the tour and not doing impromptu, camera flips and pauses, all those types of things. Do any of you have resources? Because one of the things we're actually going to do from the topics that came up in the conversation, as well as any resources you guys have afterwards, we're going to compile those into an article and probably have that ready either, I think, tomorrow or Monday to send out to everyone as well. So resources you have that you can guide people to now before we go forward, or even if that's an online thing that you found helpful yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, we have a lot of our videos, as you might imagine. We've got it mostly in video format. So
imagine that.
like to practice what we preach. So of course, you can find us on our website, on our YouTube page. We upload a lot of videos there. We're always working on, tips and best practices and top videos you should be making and all that. So you're going to see some from lots of different industries, but I think a lot of those tips and best practices are going to be consistent across the board. So definitely take a look at that, but I'll do my best to pick those out, and then we'll compile with all the other pros on here. And then I think that'll be a great takeaway for everybody when we share that.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. If you could send what you've got over to myself or to Lauren, we'll make sure we get that in there. And then I know, Matt, we chatted a bit last week as well, or week before. I feel like I see you every couple of days. I know a lot of the stuff that you mentioned as well. You've got some good resources with some very specific tips for leasing agents as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're all about it. We mandate upfront training for every team that we roll out to, and our client success team has put together quite the resource center. And very specific trainings as well. We've got live tour checklists, pre-tour, during tour, post-tour. We've got the pre-recorded video checklist. We've got diagrams that show where to position yourself in the unit for the best shot to stand and pan. And we really go deep. I mean, we've got resources, 101 ways to use Relink, where we're looking at all the great things Bozzuto is doing and other clients, and just all the users on Relink. What are some of the unbelievably creative ways that they're finding success with video, both live and recorded? And so we've got all those resources on our website as well, but absolutely we'll coordinate, get you guys all the tips and tricks, and it's fun. There's a lot of 101 basic stuff, and then you can get pretty serious about your video efforts for sure.
Yes, you can. It's funny how fast that can escalate once you really get into it. I want to come back to you, Jenna, and kind of start talking numbers a little bit around ROI, right? Not specifics, but just in general. You know, a lot of us had programs already that we were running to drive results, drive, you know, appointments, drive actual leases and that sort of thing. And many of those efforts that we were using previously, as we switched to video as our, for so many of us, primary means, are you seeing the same sort of ROI on, let's say, a video live tour or pre-recorded tour versus before, when you're able to have someone right in front of you and kind of have that personal touch? Well, let me say that in-person personal touch versus the video personal touch.
Right. No, I mean, it's working. So I would say, like most management companies, we did see a big dip and things just kind of like stopped for a couple of weeks when all of this started happening back in mid-March. But over the past couple of weeks, and I think as our teams have gotten really comfortable with video and virtual touring, we've started to see tours and leases increase. And over the past couple of weeks, we've been back up to the same lease levels that we were right before everything started happening with COVID-19. You know, I've been super impressed. Our teams, over the past 30 days, we have teams who've gotten anywhere from 10 upwards of 30 net leases. And so, you know, I think, yeah, I mean, short answer, yeah, it's been super successful.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I want to push a little bit further into the area of multiple options. I just remembered, Matt, there was actually a conversation I was having in another vertical earlier this week or last week around video, but for like existing customers, right? Or in your case, existing residents. You talked a lot about how do you attract someone to come in, right? And actually live at that property. But are you using video for existing residents and communication with them? What's that look like? And then I want to skip after you, Jenna. I know you had a specific example of kind of an event format, Matt, that I wanted to explore and unpack a little bit.
So yeah, we're doing a lot of virtual events right now. So a lot of like video chat, face-to-face trivia nights and things like that. Like I mentioned earlier, the maintenance tips have been awesome because we're having to limit, you know, how much we're going in and out of the specific units of our residents. And so the teams have had a lot of fun with doing those. And I think the maintenance team members have really loved kind of getting involved with the video aspect of things. And so that's been great. Using it for all kinds of things. I think the events is the biggest, is trying to keep our residents really engaged and not feel like they're isolated or alone. And that big for us is creating that sense of community. And that's where video is huge. And so we've had like Pictionary nights with our residents where they're staying up till 10 p.m. and everybody is on video camera doing that. And it's been really important, I think, now when people are, you know, tendencies to start to feel alone when you're stuck in an apartment by yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't even think about the idea of getting maintenance kind of involved in video as well. That's brilliant. Matt, you had a virtual Easter egg hunt format. Let's chat about that. How did that work? How did you execute on that? Or how do you execute on something like that?
Yeah, mad props to our director of marketing, Robin. I know she's on the webinar, but one of the cool things about the Relink platform is you can actually create a QR code to share a video. And something a lot of people don't realize, every smartphone and tablet nowadays has a built-in QR code scanner. You just open the camera, hold it up, and it'll scan it. And you can open that link, play the video. And so for this virtual Easter egg hunt, it was basically a video scavenger hunt where you would scan the QR code. It would give you a clue to go find another QR code, scan that, go find the next one, and it would just lead you through the house to end up at the end goal. And so really, really cool idea that Robin put together, and it was all video based and was really helped driving that fun adoption of creative ways to use video and using it to humanize something, to have fun, to bring people together. And so that was a really cool thing that Robin did and pulled together, and definitely went very successfully as well.
That's awesome. What are some other kind of more creative virtual event ideas you've seen out there? A lot of the stuff, Jenna, you mentioned about like the Pictionary nights and things like that. That sounds very similar to a lot of the things I'm even seeing my friends doing just socially in the evenings, right? Game nights, that sort of thing, trying to figure out how to use Zoom to make that work. Totally makes sense to pull that in organically for a kind of a community event as well. But Matt, Margaret, what other types of things have you been seeing out there? And it could be either something you've seen at a particular property, or something you're seeing in your own personal life from a video perspective that you think maybe could be reused. We'll go to you, Margaret.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of the same ones that you guys are in terms of like, you know, our virtual happy hours, our trivia nights, you know, all that sort of thing. What I'm loving about it, though, that is making me feel like, oh, yes, finally, is it breaks down the seriousness that which everyone feels like they have to be so buttoned up and so personal. And before now, I can't tell you what a struggle it was for me sometimes coaching people, because they would be like, well, I want the perfect background and the perfect lighting and I have to memorize my script. And I'm like, no. First of all, take that script. The best thing you can do with it is tear it up and throw it in the trash. Don't use it. Don't worry about what's behind you. So what I'm loving and taking from it is how informal people can be now and just kind of be real. And that's what is so important. So no matter where people are using video, whether it's for Easter egg hunt or, you know, having beers with friends, I think it's doing wonders for that. And actually we're seeing that the data on our side, our users have seen a more than 40% increase engagement in their videos just in social distancing. And it's because we're starting to see that tipping point where this is a new accepted norm and people feel very comfortable with it. Now we're starting to feel more comfortable with it. So that behooves all of us, honestly, because it's always been a tool in our back pocket to use. But, you know, this whole situation has kind of forced our hand a little bit more. What I think is positive from that is it's getting people out of their comfort zone, learning something new, and it's a tool that you can take post-pandemic time, right? This is not something that is just unique to this scenario. Learn it, take what you can from it and keep running with it. Don't think that after social distancing is done, it's like, okay, I don't need video anymore. That's going to continue on afterwards.
That is so very true. So very true. I think there's a lot we're learning during this, you know, during this pause that we can continue to expand on after the fact as well. And that'd be great. And all right, we're going to get into a couple of questions here in the Q&A. Thanks everyone for popping those in there. I really, really appreciate that. If you have more, this will be the time to pop those into that Q&A field. I also am looking at the chat as well. Thanks for all the cat comments. I am trying very hard to act like he's not scratching my back up this entire time. So we had a question on conversion. I think this is a good one for you, Jenna, since you talked a little bit about ROI. With the different methods of virtual touring, what have you found to be the highest converting method and or methods?
I mean, I think the face-to-face live from the apartment that they could possibly be deciding to lease is key. Giving them that opportunity to ask questions in real time. And then at the end of that, really explaining how the application process is going to work, because that's all online now too, being very thorough. And so having that live face-to-face interaction, but then also following that up very quickly with a recap email with everything you discussed, any kind of personalization that you can add into it. I think that email is important so they can refer back to it. Customers almost always have a question that they've forgotten to ask during that live chat. And so encouraging that back and forth. And if you don't hear from them, just give them a call. You need to call them, or if you can, video chat them.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm gonna skip this one over to you, Matt, first, and I'm interested in hearing the rest of your opinions on this as well. ADA compliance, right? And how do we foresee that impacting virtual touring? I think a lot of what we had to do for virtual, we kind of just went right into it and figured out we'll figure out how to like catch up later. But I know you had some specific tips on just compliance in general that you'd shared with me before, Matt. Can you dig into some of those?
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a couple sides to that compliance conversation. You've got the fair housing compliance, and that's looking at equal housing ADA logo and disclaimer, consistency across all experiences, recordings of live tours for an audit trail. There's a lot that goes into the fair housing side of it. But the number one thing is consistency across all experiences. You don't want one tour to have and show one thing and one tour not. That's where issues can arise. But from the
that was particularly like in relation to just like showing the appropriate things in the background. I think you mentioned about having signage up, that sort of thing, to kind of walk by or not.
Exactly. Yep. It's actually better to consistently not have that signage or consistently have the disclaimer in it and not intermingle it, and some do and some don't. So that consistency across the experiences is definitely one of the most important factors there.
Is that something you have to figure out how to get into the video itself, or can you do that in the kind of in the background or as you're walking through, making sure you're showing things? What does that look like?
Oh, you're giving me a layup here, Mohammed. With Relink, it is built in. so yeah, with your experiences, no matter what you're doing, you can figure it out. You can add it as a caption, as a subset photo, whatever that looks like for you. Just add that disclaimer and fair housing logo. For Relink, both live and pre-recorded experiences, we show it throughout the experience non-negotiably, so it's automatically added in there. We have it as that built-in compliance factor for sure. For ADA though, that's a whole different conversation, because that's accessibility. From the ADA standpoint, then we're talking overlaying text for hearing impaired, or having different so many different options when it comes to actually being able to digest that information and communicate and receive the tours. I mean, even when it comes down to the accessibility of that tour, having it transcoded into every sort of bitrate playback type, so it works on all the different browsers, all the different devices. I mean, there's a lot that goes into the ADA side of it. The captioning is one of the biggest conversations on the ADA side of it. And so the ability to add voiceovers, the ability to have captions, the ability to really set these videos up for any audience to receive the message is really important and a key consideration.
Awesome. Great. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. Any last thoughts from anyone? I'm gonna go round robin here. Things maybe I didn't touch on, things you'd love to share, advice you'd have for the crowd there, and then we'll go back to Lauren and she'll give some follow-up things. We'll start with Margaret. We haven't heard from you in a while.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I covered one of the big things I really wanted to, is just knowing that this is not just blip on the radar, even though it probably feels really uncomfortable and you've had your hand forced into doing video. I commend you for being flexible first and foremost, but continue on doing that even after our situation changes soon. And the biggest thing I can tell you is to just do it. You and your team and your people are usually one of your greatest assets and biggest differentiators. So the idea of stopping, hiding behind email and saying, hey, these this is what makes our team so strong. And so putting that on the forefront is really, really important. So don't worry about things being perfect or just right. It's all about being real, being authentic, being human, and that connection is going to get you a long way.
I love that. I love that. Before we go to Jenna and wrap up there as well, Lauren, can you pop up that last thing? We just want to get a little bit of feedback on what you'd like to see in the future for like a next webinar. So we'll pop that up so you guys can answer that question as we continue going on here. Last thoughts from you, Jenna.
I would say, regardless of what tools you have or resources you have, I would challenge everybody to think about how you can make the experience for your individual community really memorable and different and unique. I think that that's key right now. Before all of this, just having a virtual tour would have been unique enough. And now the fact that we're all doing it, how can yours be different? Is that some kind of virtual surprise and delight during the live portion of the tour that you can bring along with you up into the apartment? So to really think about that and try to come up with something that, as a customer sitting at their computer all day and they have 5 virtual tours scheduled, what's going to make yours stand out?
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, 100%. And Matt, I guess you get the last word here before we go back to Lauren. Lucky you.
I love it. Appreciate it. I'll relish that seat. So I'd say for me, I echo everything Jenna and Margaret said. Be real, have fun with it, and just do it. It's working. It doesn't have to be complicated, fancy, or anything. But I would say have a strategy. Think critically about what you want your virtual leasing strategy to be, what your MO is, how it conveys your brand, your personality, your team, your space, and think beyond just the videos and the assets itself. How do you get this integrated top of funnel into your website, into something like the PERQ Hub, to really creatively get people to convert right into these experiences? And then how do you integrate it into your back end, into Yardi, Entrada, Anyone Home, Knock, whatever your back end system is? How do you track it? How do you prove the effectiveness, the ROI? So definitely think through the full spec, the full scope, have that enterprise level strategy formulating, but be flexible. It's changing every single day right now, and everyone is learning. Everyone's figuring out new best practices and new things that work, and that's going to continue to evolve. So there's a lot that can go into it, but keep it simple, have fun, and it'll work.
Love it. Thank you very much. Thanks to all 3 of you. Really appreciate you spending time with us today, and out of your very busy schedules. It looks like from a follow-up perspective, I actually let Lauren cover that as she goes into next steps here.
Yeah, just want to take a minute to thank everyone for hopping on and joining us. You guys were very active in the chat, very active in the Q&A, so we really appreciate that. I'm going to use this poll that we just did to kind of prep for our next webinar, so please be on the lookout for that coming up in the next couple weeks. But before that, we were behind the scenes taking notes of this panel discussion, so within the next couple days, you guys will be receiving an email outlining a resource blog that we are putting together with all of our information in it. If you would like more information after that, please email us directly. We will put you in touch with someone so you can have a private chat if you would like to learn more. We're all about education here, so please feel free to reach out, and we are there to help you.
Got to unmute myself. There's a quick question in there around whether or not there will be a recording of it. Lauren, you can probably take that since you're talking about the blog.
Yeah, so this is recorded. We are going to put the recording in the blog pending that it all downloads and works okay after we are done here, but we are planning on putting this in our follow-up blog, so you guys will have that to share with yourself, share with your team, let everyone see this video if they need more best practices on virtual leasing.
Excellent. Awesome. Thank you everyone for taking time out of your day, and we'll see you all soon. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us. We'll also make sure in the email that if you want specific follow-up, I know there was some questions on specific platform differentiators as well that I don't want to get into too much of in the group chat, but just feel free to reply back to that one and we'll connect you directly to whichever individual on the panel you wanted to speak with. All right, have a great one.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.